Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 7th, 2024 meeting of the City of Murfreesboro Planning Commission. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present tonight. We do not have any public comments that have been registered, so our first item of business will be to approve the minutes of the July 10th, 2024 and July 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Safelwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye. Okay, moving into our public hearings, and I think we have 6 tonight. The first one we have is regarding a zoning application for approximately 0.32 acres located along Roberts Street to be rezoned from OGR and CCO to RS8 and CCO. Blue Sky Construction, Inc. is the applicant. Ms. Smith, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. As you can see on the screen above, the 2 parcels that are involved in this rezoning request are on Robert Street. One has an existing home on the location and the other one is a vacant lot. Both of them are currently zoned OGR and they're looking at changing to an RS8, which is single family residential. If you'll notice to the north, we have the Oakland's Mansion Park area, that's zone CM. To the west, we have CM RS8. Zoning to the south, we also have OGR, and then CMR on a portion south of one of the parcels. The intent for the applicant is the current zone district, which allows for both single family and office spaces, has a 10-foot side yard setback. They're wanting to have something that's more like a 40-foot wide structure, which an RS8 has a 5-foot side yard setback, that it can accommodate those particular uses. As you can see here on this drawing, the future land use plan shows these parcels as well as everything on the south side of Roberts to be single family residences. So we believe that it is in conformance with the future land use plan, which is reflected also in the North Highland character area of residential single family. In the review, we believe that a draft layout that was provided can meet all of the setback requirements of both the CCO and the new zone district, and therefore staff recommends supporting this bulk zoning request because it's consistent with that residential single family character. The conceptual plot plans show that they can be built meeting the underlying new zone district standards, and that the single family residential will enable uses that are compatible with really that existing single family neighborhood. This has been noticed as a public hearing for your consideration of any staff comments, and I believe the applicant is here in the audience as well should you have any questions of him. And just to scroll down, so both of the properties are about the same size, and this is just conceptual. It's not a planned development, but it would just show what could potentially be there as far as setbacks in the area.
Okay, did anybody have any questions for Ms. Smith or for the applicant before we open the public hearing? Okay. Then we will open the public hearing for this item and ask if there is anybody in attendance that would like to come forward and speak tonight. Okay. If there's no one, then we will close the public hearing and ask for other comments and questions from the Planning Commission regarding this item.
If there are none, I make a motion we approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Safelwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
I thought the yeah was the vote.
Where did that come from? Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye. Okay, motion
Thank you,
passes.
Commission.
Thank you. Our next item is an annexation petition and plan of services for approximately 0.5 acres located along West Ridge Drive. Alcorn Properties LLC is the applicant. Mr. Donovan, is he out here tonight? There you are, up here.
Yes,
How are
ma'am.
you? Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Jones, members of the Planning Commission. So this is a request for annexation into the city of Murfreesboro. They have filed their petition to include these properties in the city. This includes portions of 2 properties on the south side of West Ridge Drive and a portion of right-of-way of West Ridge Drive as well. So at the request of the city, the County Road Board consented to the annexation of the remaining right-of-way of West Ridge Drive at its June 24th meeting, and both of those parcels that are currently in the county are vacant. The total annexation study area is approximately a half acre, and 0.08 acres of that is public right-of-way currently. So the property owners have submitted a companion rezoning application, which will be the next item we reconsider, the Veterans Cove PRD. And that zoning would allow 3 attached single-family homes in the annexation area, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. The annexation study area is located within the city's urban growth boundary. It's contiguous to the city limits on the northern side and on its eastern side as well. And this is within our service infills boundary that's in the comprehensive plan. So staff has worked with other city departments to draft a plan of service, a copy of which was included in your packet. And it details how services will be extended to the annexation area if it is to be annexed. Due to its close proximity to the city, it will be relatively easy for us to extend all the city services to the property. Staff is supportive of the annexation request for the following reasons. The subject property is contiguous to the city limits. It is located within the UGB, the urban growth boundary, and the service infill area, and services can be extended to the property upon annexation. Planning Commission will need to conduct a public hearing and formulate a recommendation to City Council.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Donovan before we open this public hearing or comments? Okay. Then we will open the public hearing for this item. I will just make note that Mr. Alcorn does have 3. Our next 3 items will all concern some properties that Mr. Alcorn owns. So this is a public hearing regarding the annexation for property on West Ridge Drive. And so if we have anybody that would like to come forward to speak on this item, if you do come forward, you will need to state your name and your address. And then you will make all your comments to the Planning Commission. You have 3 minutes to speak when you come forward to the podium. So with that, we'll open the public hearing regarding annexation on West Ridge Drive and ask anybody to come forward that would like to speak.
Chairman Jones and honorable members of this hearing, my name is Mr. Bennett. I reside at 1322 Venice Parkway, Murfreesboro, Tennessee 371208. My first concern is related to the meeting tonight. I have a video on my phone that from the handicap parking entrance in this building. When you go to the door that's closest to it and you press the button for the handicap door to open, it's not operational. So there may be members of this community that were unable to attend tonight. So I want to put the committee on notice that there is a problem with people attending this meeting, particularly if we have the city attorney present. I want to put on legal notice of that. And I have a copy if they'd like to see that.
Which floor did the button not work on?
It's on P1. It's the door that's right over here, and it's the door that faces the handicap parking.
All right, I'm texting the city manager about it right now.
Okay. Well, the hearing's already underway, so it would need to be rescheduled to be reconsidered at that time. My first concern is, my next concern is related to public notice. The application that was filed with the planning department shows the address at 4613 Veterans Parkway. And, pardon me, the property owner is at 1310 Veterans Parkway. And there's no notice signs put up at that address. The sign is at the back side of the property address, and therefore I don't believe that meets the notice requirements. I was told by Mr. Donovan that because the property didn't face Veteran, was not being annexed in the city, they didn't have a sign that said that the part of this property is being annexed. But I believe that under TCA that it would require you to put notice at the property address, which is on Veterans Parkway, and there is no notice on that. So I believe the committee cannot go forward tonight because of improper notice. Lastly, information. There's no information that I could find in the thing. He's talking about they were close to the city services, but the police department is not providing services out there currently. You hardly ever see anybody out there from the police department. In addition, there's no information from the city schools that they'll be able to handle the additional students from this annexation. With that, I complete my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this item? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. I would guess that since we did advertise for a public hearing tonight, we would still have a public hearing tonight, and we'll let the legal team determine whether there's any of these items he brought up. We need to have another public hearing at a later date. That would be your, what do you think?
Chair Jones, first regarding the malfunctioning door, that's the first I've heard of that. But if we haven't received any other complaints of that before now, I don't think that there would be any sort of GTLA liability concerns with that, and I believe we could go forward with the public hearing based on that. Regarding the signage notices. We've researched that Tennessee Code Annotated 6-51-104, subsection B3, gives the requirements for signage to be included on annexation notices. And it says the signs must be posted within the territory proposed for annexation and along any thoroughfare bordering the territory. So if you look at the map of the proposed annexation area, the only thoroughfare that it borders is West Ridge Drive. And therefore, that's where the signage was placed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hankins. What other questions or concerns from the Planning Commission on the annexation petition?
Mr. Donovan, why are we only annexing, why is the request only to annex that, I guess that's northern part of the property? Because I noticed it's a big parcel. It's 2.6 acres total, correct?
Yes, it is a much larger parcel. The reasoning behind that is any annexation request, we have a discussion amongst planning staff before that is actually submitted to basically discuss, are there any reasons that the city can't serve this? Does this benefit the city to serve it? As it stands, we discussed with Murfreesboro Water Resources sewer in this property. They could not provide sewer to the front of the property and believed it was better that it remain in the county on septic for that reason. Also, if you look surrounding it as far as our other services that would be extended out here, there aren't any customers around or citizens that we'd be giving trash service to, so there would potentially be a trip out there, especially to go to the front part of this property if it were to develop. This is it would kind of be one of the only properties fronting on that section of Veterans and be a little bit harder for the city to serve, and that's the reason staff recommended that the applicant trim it back to this. The big reason there was the sewer and not being able to provide sewer service to that other portion.
Okay, thank you.
There was another comment that city services were not in that area now. I'm assuming that the city police are servicing every single thing inside that city limit sign line currently, correct?
So what we do when we get in a plan of service, and I'm trying to get to the sections that were mentioned, is we send out an email with information on the annexation to all of our city departments, asking them to review it and let us know if there is any concern for them to serve the area. We send it to police. We were sent back that, currently it's being served by the sheriff's department. This will be, but immediately upon the effective annexation date, we can provide police services to the property. No additional costs are expected, as you can see on the screen, and this property will be in Police Zone 4 if it were to be annexed. So we reach out to those departments to let them tell us if they're going to have an issue serving it, or if there's an...
I understand that, but just to clarify, the city police already service the part inside the city limits now. They just don't service outside the city.
Yes, sir.
So the city police are servicing these adjacent properties that are on the city limits side.
Yes, sir.
That's just clarifying.
Okay. Any other questions or clarifications we need to make? Or do we have a motion?
There's no questions. I'll make a motion. We approve the annexation, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Jaco?
Ms. Saberwater,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Wright,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay, annexation passes. So next we'll have item C, which is a zoning application for approximately 0.42 acres located along West Ridge Drive to be zoned PRD, the Veterans Cove PRD, simultaneous with annexation. Alcorn Properties LLC is the applicant. Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Chair Jones. So this is the companion rezoning request for the annexation you just considered. So what is occurring here is the approximately half or 4/10 of an acre that would be annexed into the city is going to receive a zoning potentially of Veterans Cove PRD. This is an extension of the Veterans Cove PRD that was originally approved in 2019. The PRD, as the proposed amendment, would allow 97 attached single-family residential units in 23 buildings in 3, 4, or 5-unit configurations on the site. This amendment, phase 1 of Veterans Cove, just some background, is currently undergoing vertical construction, so they're building buildings out of the ground currently. Phase 2 is in site preparation to get ready to build. And then this amendment, which would be considered phase 3 of the development, would add 3 additional single-family attached dwelling units to what would be the north side of the property along West Ridge Road. On the screens in front of you, you have the drawing that they've provided in the PRD document that shows Lot 1, which is the portion that was considered for annexation and now rezoning, where they are adding those 3 attached units. This is increasing the PRD from 95 to 97 units. You're only seeing an increase of 2 there. There was one unit that has some environmental constraints that are prohibited it from being built. So instead, they're going to lose that unit, add 3 here. And this phase 3 may be built concurrent with phase 2 of the project. This portion of the PRD is having all the same bulk regulations, architectural requirements, buffering requirements extended to this portion of the PRD. So it is going to be of the same development standards as the remainder of Veterans Cove, and should look like one seamless development. What is being added here as part of phase 3 is the type C buffer, which currently runs along that northern property line, is being pulled to the north along the property line of the new area that's being proposed, and then to the east to Westridge Road. So that type C buffer is going to be continued along the property. Also, a sidewalk is being added that'll extend from the northern property edge to connect onto a sidewalk on Soldiers Honor Drive. Other than that, all elements of the pattern book are going to remain in effect on this property. It's simply adding those three. Just a little bit of a refresher, what was in the remainder of the PRD. There are amenities in the PRD. Stormwater management is included in the green area with vegetative screening and the type C buffer that is included throughout the PRD. Open space will be formal and include a pavilion, fenced dog park, walking trails, and benches. Those are in the phase 1 and 2 of the project. None of that's being added with this phase 3. And the only exception that was originally in the PRD is for garage doors to be 25 feet from the road instead of 35. That's remaining consistent with this portion of the PRD. So as far as adjacent land uses, I'm going to get back to the aerial. So primarily what's developed around this is residential uses, zoned residential. Just to the north of this property is River's Edge Subdivision Section 5, which is zoned RS10. To the east of it is Phase 1 of Veterans Cove. So the rest of this PRD. To the south is the single-family residence that's zoned RM, which will remain in the county. And then to the west is a two-family home, a duplex zoned RM, and that's in the county. The future land use map for this area calls it out to be suburban residential. The Veterans Cove PRD is inconsistent with the future land use designation for the subject property, but we believe this is a place where the transition policy may be helpful here. And just kind of a note here, suburban residential is what's listed for the remainder of Veterans Cove PRD, but staff believes that was an error in the code when the land use plan was updated. It should have been auto urban residential, which this would be a continuation of that urban auto residential. The transition policy that I mentioned allows flexibility when development patterns warranted. In this case, staff believes that the development pattern recommends use of the transition policy for the AR style uses along Westridge Road, just because it gives a transition from the Veterans Cove PRD to a three-family unit down to a duplex, which is in the county, before it eventually turns into single-family residences further on Westridge and then to the north in River's Edge. Staff is supportive of the rezoning request for the following reasons. Veterans Cove PRD is an appropriate use of the transition of policy, allowing for transition from AR type uses that exist in Veterans Cove PRD to two-family residential, then to single-family residential. The Veterans Cove PRD zoning is consistent with that and the same quality as Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Veterans Cove PRD, so we're keeping that quality in this phase. And then the proposed single-family attached dwellings would be compatible with adjacent land uses that are in Veterans Cove and the duplexes that are just to the north. Planning Commission will need to conduct a public hearing on this matter and formulate a recommendation to City Council.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Any questions regarding this zoning application before we open the public hearing? Okay. Then we will open the public hearing. This is regarding the zoning application for the property on Westridge Drive to be added and amended to the Veterans Cove PRD. So, public hearing is open. Anybody that would like to speak may come forward at this time.
Chairman Jones, members of the committee, I'm back again with a similar concern. As the gentleman said, no one had
And
called him about.
Mr. Bennett, can I ask you to go ahead and please state your name and
Sure,
your full name?
I just
Not
continue
Mr.
on.
Bennett.
My bad.
Your full name.
My name is J.D. Bennett,
J.D. Bennett.
and
And your address was
1322 Veterans Parkway.
Veterans Parkway, 1322. Thank you. I just missed that last time. I appreciate it.
Anyway, he said he hadn't been in contact with anybody. I'm a well-informed citizen of this county. I have no idea who I would call to get to answer a phone after 4:30 in the afternoon in the county government. So when he says he hasn't heard from anybody, I think it's a pretty hollow excuse. When Chairman Jones said we could have a hearing again tomorrow night where they could have that fixed, but yet he doesn't want to go forward with it, I renew my complaint that we're in violation of the American Disabilities Act. Thank you.
American Disabilities Act. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Anybody else? Okay. We will close the public hearing. Mr. Hankins, do you want to address that for us on the ADA?
Yes, Chair Jones. If in fact the doors is not working, the button's not working, that is unfortunate. But there are multiple areas of ingress and egress for City Hall that are ADA accessible and ADA compliant, and that should not present a hindrance of someone being able to access this meeting. And when the public hearing notices went out, there is a number on there that can be called for the ADA compliance officer if someone needs reasonable accommodation.
Thank you very much for clarifying that again. I appreciate it. Okay, we've closed the public hearing. Any other comments, questions from the Planning Commission regarding this zoning application?
The PRD needs to be updated, or the future land that needs to be updated.
That's what we're,
I'll make a motion to approve, subject staff comment.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. We have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Saberwater,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Our next item, item D, is a zoning application for approximately 29.5 acres located along Old Salem Road to be rezoned from CF Commercial Fringe to RS12. Alcorn Properties LLC is the applicant. Mr. Donovan.
Thank
Are
you.
busy tonight?
Chair Jones. Yes, I do. This agenda is mostly my items.
All yours. Very good.
Before I get into going through the staff report in this item, I just want to take a moment and kind of discuss where we're at in the process on this one, and really why we're here tonight for the board to hear this item. So this is a request to rezone a property. What a rezoning is really the first step in our development process if they're not developing under the current zoning. What it is an entitlement phase, which gives them bulk regulations, setbacks, lot sizes, height requirements, things of that nature, which they are constrained by to develop when they move forward in the process if this body makes a favorable recommendation and ultimately City Council approves it. So this is the first step in the city reviewing and considering an item, but this just gives its entitlements. No plan is set in stone tonight. Anything that gets shown tonight isn't necessarily what's going to get built. We have, it is just an illustrative document to show what they are considering doing and what the potential is for the site. That being said, from here, if City Council were to rezone it, or even if it stays its current commercial zoning, there are additional steps in the processes where other ordinances within the city's regulations come into play. So if this property were to stay commercial or is rezoned to residential, it is going to go through one of two processes. It would go through a site plan review or a subdivision development review for a preliminary plat, construction drawings, final plat before that's ultimately recorded. In both of those processes, we're going to look at how that compares to the major thoroughfares plan. So are road improvements required? Are sidewalks going to be required? We look at other documents, other regulations to make those determinations when we get to that stage of the process. So not only are we going to look at major thoroughfares plan, we have a stormwater ordinance that will be reviewed against the proposed development. The developer will be required to comply with that. We also have a flood prevention ordinance that Ms. Knopf, our floodplain administrator, reviews and makes sure developments are compliant with that. So this is just the beginning, an entitlement process that would give any developer or anybody in the city an idea of what their allowed uses are, what their setbacks are going to be, and what their other bulk regulations are going to be. So just, this is the first step. There are other items that we know are going to be of question and concern that will come up tonight, but there is a process to address those. The bulk requirement stage, or the bulk entitlement stage that we're at tonight is not where those are addressed. Okay. So this is an application by Alcorn Properties LLC requesting to rezone the subject properties from commercial fringe to single-family residential on a 12,000 square foot lot. So these three properties are located on the south side of Old Salem Road, and they're currently vacant. There are three properties involved that are 3.79 acres, 16.2 acres, approximately, and then 9.4 acres. That's a combined acreage of about 29.5 acreage. So due to environmental limitations around Puckett Creek, we do have a concept plan that the developer or the applicant provided us that shows approximately 21 lots, but again, that's a concept plan. This may be refined further as they move further on in the process if the rezoning is approved. But the intent is to do large lots within this zoning district. So prior to this coming before the board, there was actually a site plan for a private school approved on the site that included a flood study with that site plan application, and it identified floodway and floodplain on this site. So we know there are some environmental limitations. Currently, the city has a consultant working on a flood study for this portion of Puckett Creek. So that is in the work. That is still ongoing, but it is in the work. The floodplain of Puckett Creek, as identified in the coming flood study, could constrain future development of this site. So that study could affect what occurs tonight and in the future. So as far as what is in the general vicinity as far as land uses and current zoning, there's single-family residential zoning. Our single-family residences developed around this area, and residential or commercial zoning in place. The properties to the northeast and south are both currently vacant. The property to the west is Cherry Grove subdivision, and the property to the north is large lot single-family residential. Properties to the north and northeast are in the county, zoned RM, which is medium-density residential in the unincorporated county, and then to the south is CF and CH, and then to the west is RS15. So the future land use for this area actually calls out general commercial. General commercial character is really auto-oriented with large lots, large portions of the site devoted to parking, drive aisles, things of that nature. We're looking to attract people into the area from outside of Murfreesboro to those areas. The RS12 zoning is inconsistent, but staff believes this is another place where the transition policy is appropriate to use due to the southern boundary with Puckett Creek, creating a dividing line between commercial zone property to the south and then ultimately residential that is north of Old Salem Road. So staff feels it's appropriate to use the transition policy in this case for this property. Staff is supportive of the rezoning request for the following reasons. The rezoning request is an appropriate use of the transition policy, allowing transition from commercial uses south of Puckett Creek to large lot single family north of Puckett Creek and south of Old Salem Road. The proposed single-family detached dwellings allowed by the RS-12 zoning would be compatible with single-family residential land uses in the vicinity, and the proposed RS-12 district is a decrease in land use intensity from the existing CF zoning in an environmentally constrained area. So the Planning Commission will need to conduct a public hearing on this matter, and after which formulate a recommendation for City Council. And Chair Jones and members of the Planning Commission, you were all included on an email earlier today with a letter. There should have been copies of that letter printed off and provided to you before the meeting. We just want to make sure that you have copies of those and that we enter that into the record.
I don't have a copy of that, Richard.
I have it in my email, but I don't have a copy.
Same.
Yeah. I did want to understand one thing, and again, this may be another Mr. Hankins question. In the letter, when y'all all get a chance to look at it, she had one reference to promises that were made when it was rezoned the last time. So if there are certain promises made by the developer and or the city in regards to rezoning a property, in this case to CF, then do those same promises and conditions have to hold forward to future rezonings if they occur? Do you know what I'm asking? Here's my...
Sort of.
right there.
Well, you already have it.
From one of the phone calls that I heard about this was there were turn-in lanes and some extra road construction stuff as far as past promises when it was done CF for the school.
And I just think that's an interesting question just in general, so a certain, if it's get rezoned for one thing and commercial property might be different from residential. I don't know if that holds true to carry forward.
Without going back and watching the old one, I'd hesitate to speak too much to it. But I would say as a general matter, if there's something that's made a condition or made subject to in a motion for approval, that I think that could be something that could tie to the zoning and perhaps carry forward. Outside of that, statements that are made, during either a public comment period or deliberation by a developer, if any statements or quote-unquote promises that are made by that developer aren't included or referenced as a condition of the approval, then there's really no way to know if that was a deciding factor for the commission in that approval process. So, like I said, I hate to make that kind of answer, but I'd need to go back and look and see exactly what promises were made and if those promises were made part of the approval process.
I think I just want to acknowledge that we were, we saw this, we know it's a concern, and it'll be part of our deliberation here tonight.
Yeah, and I would say also too, in the broader scope, it's really one of the primary functions of the Planning Commission to look at applications and opportunities as they're presented, and things change over time, areas change over time, and I think it's part of this body's jurisdiction to say, even if there was a promise that was made, back at the last rezoning, if things have changed to a certain extent to where those promises either wouldn't apply or would possibly even be counterproductive now, I think it's this body's authority to change those.
Exactly.
And
sounds like Mr. Taylor may have something to add to it as well. Mr. Donovan?
yeah, Chair Jones, so we looked at the Redeemer Academy, which was the prior approved site plan on this site earlier today. So it did not include sidewalks on the shoulders of Old Salem Road. It did have a turn-in lane into their ingress-egress point, but it was what they needed to get that access point, not the entire length of the property. We didn't go as far as to dive in to see if that was required as a recommendation of a traffic study or how that came to be, but it did have a portion of a
It was
turn
just
lane.
a part of it in relation to the fact that it was going to be a school on the property, not
And-
residences.
Yes. And just the major, this property, Old Salem Road, is on the major transportation plan. It is a 3-lane cross-section with curb and gutter and sidewalk is what it's listed as there. You know, any development, whether it come for the commercial side of things or with a rezoning, are going to expect to participate in improvements to that road.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, did you have more
Yes,
to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. Matt Taylor of SCC, representing the sellers on the property, which is Redeemer Academy. This zoning was completed back, I think it was in the 2008 to 2010 timeframe. I think Mr. Adelot was still here. At the time that zoning was completed, the school was definitely not thought of. It was very much, we were annexing property and trying to zone in how we thought the future land would be used. And so I feel fairly confident in saying we didn't make any promises at that stage because we didn't have any end users. I would say that probably what was said was something similar to what Mr. Donovan just said, was the city has this road on its major transportation plan for a 3-lane road, so that'd be a center turn lane and sidewalk and curb and gutter whenever that construction would take place. And as Mr. Donovan would say, whether it was Redeemer's school site plan or this a future plan or future subdivision plat, any of those applicants are going to be expected to participate either through improvements or through a monetary contribution to contribute toward those future roadway improvements. So that may have been what was said, but there certainly weren't any promises because we didn't have end users when we were doing this back in that early time frame.
Okay. Thank you all very much for the clarification. I think that was the Baylesses. They were not able to be here tonight, but did think it was something we needed to address.
And just another clarification, just for all those in the audience. No matter if this is rezoned tonight, there will be no building permits and no buildings on this property at all until this flood study comes back and we know elevation lines, we know flood lines, we know building pockets, everything like that. So even if this is rezoned, it may still be 8 months to a year before we know where that flood line is. There's not going to be any building on this lot.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we open the public hearing? Okay. With that, we will open the public hearing, and as before, if you will come forward to the podium, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to make your comments to the Planning Commission. Who's first?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Samuel Parker. I am the homeowner at 5508 Old Salem Road, Biltmore. I think it's Biltmore Section 1. It's going to be tough to be 3 minutes, but I'll try to be respectful. I'm totally opposed to anything being rezoned, commercial, anything. I bought this lot, and I'll just go as quick as I can. I bought this lot in March of 2021. I bought this lot from a builder named Michael Parker, and I think he was the part developer or builder for these houses right here on Old Salem Road. So he built 1 through 6. I bought lot 7, and he was like, hey, lot 7, 8, 9, 10 are ready to go. You just got to bring your builder. I got something else going on the other side of the city, so I'm going to sell the lots, let some other builders take it forward. So that's where I came in. Just as a side note, I'm not rich. My wife is a teacher in Murfreesboro City Schools, and we do all right for ourselves, but we put all of our money in to buy this lot cash, $115,000. So I build the lot. I buy the lot in March 2021. Around April, we got a lot of rain, and I seen the whole area like flood. So of course, I haven't even started building my house yet, and I'm like, okay, this is different. So I come down to the city, and I go upstairs, and I'm trying to remember names because this has been a long time and being dragged out, but I believe I got eventually to somebody named Michelle. I can't think of her last name. She was the city's engineer. They basically said, hey, we know some site improvements need to be made in that area, and once we're done, once the city is done working on Costco's and getting that done, we're going to come take care of you guys. Now, that was April 2021. Nothing happened. Came down here. I'm not the type of person that like to do emails. I like to go to people's face. So I've come to the city personally 3 or 4 times and had conversations, and they put it up on the computer screen up there and told them, like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, like, so we're on the same page visually. Now, nothing gets done. I built my house. I broke ground on my house in October 2021 on lot 7. There were 3 other houses that were being built. So nothing has been done by the city to address these floods. And I was told at the time, oh, this is a historic rainfall, and we've never seen this much rain in 40 years. So the plan is for it to be like some water back in the easement part, but we'll never see this again. So we fast forward a year. My neighbors start getting involved. So I'll fast forward to September 2022, where I got some groundswell with my neighbors and the others. So it's really like the 10 houses. It's like the 10 houses on the street, and we're like a band of brothers or whatever, and we're trying to like, okay, what can we do for the city to do something about all of this water? And there's been nothing. There's been promises made. I've been on email copies with people from, and excuse me, I'm not from Murfreesboro, so I just kind of know names like Shane McFarland, Greg McKnight, Michelle from engineering. I've been on a lot of copies about people telling what the plan is and what the city is going to do. So ultimately, there's nothing. And the one thing that I will say is when all of that water came in 2021, before I even had a house up, it was like 3 days of constant water. So they was like, oh, it's historic water. Just as of last week, if we get rain for 4 to 5 hours, if it starts raining at 8 o'clock, by 1 o'clock in the morning, our yard, my yard, and our whole area is put underwater. The water comes up to here. And I'm pretty sure the city has videos. We have all type of videos circulating, Facebook pages. This is a major problem. So as a homeowner, as a citizen of the city, I'm like, we have $1 million houses. Everybody has our whole life investment, like probably our biggest equity investment is our home. And we got all of this water, so I don't know all the nuances of everything that's going on, and I understand the city's trying to grow and bring in more business and more commerce, but like, let's take care of the homeowners first. I oppose anything being built, anything being rezoned. All of these studies I've been hearing for 3 years, guys, 3.5 years. They're doing site studies. I've heard everything in the world. We're doing site studies. Every time this area floods, somebody from the city or somebody comes out with a thing and they're taking camera pictures and all this. So the last time I heard from Michelle from engineering, it was like we're doing a site study. I honestly had to take a step back because building a home is very stressful, and then to add to all of the stuff that's going on with the city. But right now, there is a problem right there, and I wish somebody can put it on the screen. He just showed the area right where you come around Old Salem, and then there's Constantine right there, and you're going around where this new thing needs to be rezoned. It is terrible. Yeah. It is literally underwater. If we get 4 hours of rain, the city comes up and puts high water, and they put stuff, and it takes maybe like a day for the water to come past. Now, of course, I drive an SUV, so I could drive through it, but I drive a Grand Wagoneer. The water is up to my door, past my door, almost to my driver's door. It's that high. So it's acknowledgement of the city that something needs to be done to take care of this water. I just want to know what I need to do as a homeowner and as a citizen to put more pressure. I don't want to get into all this political stuff, and I'm not from here. I got great respect for everything you do. I come from a family of servants, pastors. My aunt was the mayor of my city that I came from on city council. I have cousins running for city council right now, so I have great respect for what you guys do at the city level. But my frustration is at an all-time high. So when I see somebody trying to come in and add anything, I'm like, why aren't we taking care of me? It's 10 people on this street, and we literally just get the runaround. Everybody knows somebody. Oh, I know somebody at the city. I know this person, but we haven't got anything done in 3.5, pushing 4 years now. So for us to be, as a city, pushing any more houses or any more thing on this street, how about we get the culverts or whatever, the bridge or whatever needs to be done? And it seems like to me the frustration is, and this is just what I gather, that the city's trying to figure out how to make somebody else pay for it. We know that there's a problem, so if a developer comes in, the developer will promise this, and I will say this, the city approved like Hensley Properties or something to build houses in Biltmore 2 right in back of my houses. Whatever they did to my property, it made it worse. Because we used to have 3 days of rain to get to this level. Now, whatever grading or whatever they did in back of my house, I can't tell you what they did with elevation, but I know if I get 4 hours of rain now, it floods 2 to 3 times worse than what it did 3 years ago when it took 3 days of rain. So that's my part. I'm pretty sure other people want to have something else to say. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
I went over
Appreciate
time,
it.
but I had 3.5 years of emails from the city in my mind.
Thank you. No clapping, no, and please try not to speak out from the audience while we have people at the podium. Let them make their comments, and we'll take down notes on all those. And we'll hear from all of you, and then at the end of the public hearing, we'll try to address all your comments. So who's next? I know we have more people that want to speak tonight.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Thompson. My husband Brian and I live at 5422 Old Salem Road. And I'm just going to read the letter that I sent to Matt Blomley, and I think there were like 26 people on it. And that was sent at 3:19 this afternoon. I was hoping that would make its way to your desk, but it doesn't seem like it has because you've only mentioned.
It made to our emails, but everybody from 3:19 to now didn't necessarily get to see it. Sorry.
That's fine.
Alyssa?
But it's there for the record.
Alyssa.
It's Alyssa. Yes, I did read that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to hit most of the highlights of my letter. I do have the other 5 letters that were sent with that email today at 3:19 here in my hand. I don't know if you guys would like to submit those to the record, but I do want to make sure that those are official and part of this conversation.
They were included in the email, though, correct?
So Mandy Bayless sent an email. Joel Powers sent an email. I think there was another separate email sent by maybe the Jennings.
Do you have the rest of those, Ms. Jaco?
No, and I believe Mr. Blomley left before 3.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, you should have received probably
you can leave
7
it
to 8 letters today officially. I just want to make sure that that's part of this discussion.
I don't have.
So we purchased our home in March of 2022, roughly 2.5 years ago, completely unaware of the flooding issues that have been impacting this area apparently for years. I would like to say, in response to Mr. Donovan, who stated that they would like to, or that they're wanting to target people who live out of this area. And that makes perfect sense because people that don't live in this area are not going to be aware of the major flooding issues here. So I think that really reveals a lot about the agenda behind this development, and really anybody who's trying to attract out-of-state people to an area, or out-of-town people to an area that residentially people are aware that this is a flood area. So here are my concerns that I would like to publicly express. And I would also like to ask a couple of questions, and I'm not sure how you all handle that.
We'll take note of all your questions and, like I said, address everything at the end of all the public hearing.
Thank you. So my first concern is in reference to the rezoning of the commercial fringe property along Old Salem Road, as we've discussed. This being proposed to RS-12 zoning by Alcorn Properties, LLC. In order to protect the integrity of the surrounding community and bring it into alignment, I am formally asking that the rezoning be changed to RS-15 instead of RS-12 for any and all homes in the respective development, whether it be Maddington or any other development, to both protect property values and to keep in alignment with the existing homes along Old Salem Road and Constantine. For the same reasons, I am also asking that the HOA guidelines be the same, at minimum, as the guidelines that are set forth in Belmore Section 1 and Section 2 CCNRs. The second item is the flooding that we've already talked about that occurs very persistently, very chronically along Old Salem Road, Constantine Drive, and now the lots that are immediately behind Old Salem Road located in Belmore Section 2 along East Overall Creek Road. For the sake of simplicity, I have provided bullet points that I'd like to note around this issue of flooding. The flooding in this area has been happening for years, which city planning has been aware of, but construction still continues to be approved. The adjustments to the water retention area, and I put that in quotes because it doesn't, I mean, it literally is just a lake. There's no such thing as it's not a retention area. Along the back of all of the Belmore lots were apparently required by the developer, Eric Hensley, to make adjustments before he could develop that area. He built a berm or a bank and made some other changes. Those changes have actually, as Mr. Parker mentioned just a minute ago, have exacerbated the flooding in our yards over the past 2 years since it's been completed. The persistent flooding along Old Salem Road presents a significant risk to our properties, the ones that are already there, and to the properties that have not yet been built. The potential or the risk for property damage, the risk incrementally increases with every new structure that is built and that city planning approves. The flooding also presents a substantial risk to public safety, and that's for multiple reasons. One example of this occurred in just a couple of months ago in May of 2024. The flood waters actually emptied raw sewage from a porta-john within 50 feet of our yard, contaminating the water in the immediate area with human feces, with nowhere for it to drain. So it sat there for at least 24 hours and probably longer. So the contamination will sit there for however long because the water has nowhere to go. This is just one example of a public safety risk. If the drainage issue is not solved prior to the addition of new structures, the situation will get incrementally worse and will undoubtedly have a negative impact on not only the existing homes along Old Salem Road, Constantine, as well as East Overall Creek Road in Section 2, but as well as any other future development. Even one new structure impacts us, and it already has, not to mention 21 new homes being proposed in the Maddington subdivision by Alcorn Properties, LLC. The proposed Maddington subdivision is also located in an area that is constantly underwater. Even if those properties receive flood certifications, which seems that they would have to, and it would be probable, we would also assume that the flood certs would protect the Maddington properties, and that's really great for them, but what does that mean to the people who are already there? We have to consider that. For that reason, I do not approve, and nor does anyone in our development approve of an additional 21 hardscapes, 21 roof lines, 21 additional concrete driveways, and 29.5 acres less of land and ground to absorb the water problems that are already there. I do not support the Maddington subdivision in the way that is currently being proposed with the RS12 lots. Every single homeowner in Belmore Section 1 and another lot owner from Belmore Section 2, who only has a lot, she has not built yet, her name's Stacy Smith, adamantly opposes this development as it's currently proposed. Mr. and Mrs. Jennings back here also oppose it as well. We are formally requesting that there be no new building permits issued until the drainage is properly resolved. Now, Mr. Wright stated just a few minutes ago that and I'm going to quote here that, let's see, he said that there would be constraints prior to the flood study. Now, no, we're getting into like a semantics thing here, but a flood study is one thing. I mean, we've been told for years that there's been, we're working on it, there's being studies done, we're having, you know, and it isn't changing, it's not changing anything. We're not actually affecting the development here because nothing's being done. So I think that we cannot issue permits until it's resolved. There's clearly a flood problem. I wish we could put some photos up here. By a show of hands, has anyone here been to the site when it's actually been flooded?
I mean, go on.
I mean, we need to show some pictures because just by showing a picture of our development doesn't show you guys the impact of what it's doing to homeowners. Every single one of us opposes this. My third concern is around the traffic patterns along our quaint rural road, Old Salem. And how will any new development impact Old Salem Road? It is already used as a cut-through to and from Veterans Boulevard and to and from New Salem Highway / Highway 99. With any new development, how will the city be able to preserve the rural character of our area? So I have several questions related to that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And really just want you to know that obviously your decisions impact homeowners at a very personal level. So I hope you'll decide rightly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Who's next?
Hello, I'm Joel Powers. I live at 5300 Old Salem Road, Rockville, just across the street from where this is at. And I'm actually in the county, but I've been out there been in my house 36 years. Been on the property probably 50 plus. Bought the property that I have from the late Talmadge Gilley, who was on the Planning Commission also. I'm pleased to see that the Alcorns are looking to turn this residential versus commercial. I thought it was the craziest thing to approve commercial for this area that ever was. And I opposed that then. I'm just here to put an exclamation mark on what has already been said about the water. I came where Ms. Thompson lives, that whole section over there was the old Jim Walker farm. I came when that was being developed. I did oppose that because of the water at that time and stated that. And yes, Mr. Adelot was here, Dana Richardson was here, Sam Huddleston. Sam was sitting somewhere right in here. And when I brought that up, Sam said, we're aware of the water. We have a plan for that. I don't have any hesitation that we can take care of it. Now I have pictures. I sent these in at, I think, 2:52 to Matthew. But here's 2017 when they were just starting the development. There's a track hole. The water's to the top of the tracks. That's waist deep to me. This has been going on, and I don't believe it's technically listed as a flood zone. It's just a creek. And the gentleman said it takes 4 days to rain. Like I said, I've been out there 50 years. 4 inches of rain in about a 24-hour period puts that over the road. We have that 2 or 3 times a year. And week before last, when it got up this last time, was 5.5 inches. I keep a rain gauge. That's not unheard of. Maybe this time of year we don't normally get that. But December, January, February, March, it'll get over the road 2 or 3 times. And that is what needs to be addressed. I don't know what's the best avenue, so I just came up here tonight. Like I said, I'm all for the Alcorns putting homes over there. I'd certainly rather look at my front window and see a home than a school or some other big parking lot that's just going to cause more runoff and more problems. But the water's got to be taken care of. It wasn't as promised years ago. I have even called this year complaining about the potholes on our road, and they said, well, we're in a holding pattern because they're supposed to change the culverts under the road down there, so we're not going to spend a lot of money to fix the road and so on and so forth. But it just keeps sitting there. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Who's next?
My name is J.D. Bennett. I live at 1322 Veterans Park, Wednesburg, Tennessee, 37128. I'm trying to talk fast but I can get it in quickly. Anyway, again, this is a separate public hearing from the other 2 times that I've objected to a problem. And so I want to get it on the record for this one. Yes. And if you'll agree with this one, is that you'll just renew it on the other hearings. I don't have to stand up and say this again. But I'm concerned that this is not being looked at seriously. That it was told there was a reasonable accommodation to go to another door. The other door I know of is at the library. So does he really expect that somebody's going to the library, go across there, come back out of the library building and come back over to this building? Is that a reasonable accommodation? And if he knows of other interests and extras, there's no signage to let anybody know where these other quote-unquote accommodations are. So there's no way. It's like the imaginary signs he spoke of earlier where it had his phone number on it. And then you call the city of Murfreesboro after 4:30 and you're going to get a bunch of recordings. You're not going to get anybody to tell you what's going on. And so this is a serious issue. I know he doesn't seem to respect it, but the Congress passed the American Disability Act to give people that are disabled a chance to appear. And he doesn't know whether anybody showed up out there tonight that couldn't get in the door and turn around and left. And now they're being excommunicated from being able to participate in this. And I just want to renew that, and sir, if we can agree to it, that on the other hearings that that'll be added to the record. I don't have to stand up and say it each time. If not, I'll stand up here and say it each time because I think each one was a separate violation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Who's next? Ready?
My name's John Harney. I live at 6748 West Gum Road, and I'm here tonight representing the Redeemer Classical Academy that's got the property for sale and under contract with Mr. Alcorn. And I also represent the Rucker Donnell Foundation, who originally zoned all this property out there, like Matt said, probably 06, 07 along in there, approximately 350 acres. Of the foundation sold the property to the Redeemer School. They wanted to develop it into a school site, and consequently that didn't work out for them. Originally, when this all got zoned out there in a large tract, a little bit of everything got zoned, from commercial highway to multifamily to residential, office general. It was a big master plan. We had no buyers at the time, and all we knew is we wanted to get it into the city and empower the property with zoning to move forward for the foundations. We didn't pay a lot of attention looking at the creek and the fact that it got rezoned commercial local or commercial fringe on the north side of the creek. And really and truly, the creek is a real good buffer between commercial and residential. And like Mr. Powers said, there's water problems out there that need to be addressed, no doubt. Rezoning this back to residential from commercial actually lessens the runoff impact. Whatever would be developed there residentially would be far less impervious surface than it would be if Redeemer had built or some other commercial use that's allowed by right today. So we acknowledge certainly there's got to be the water issue addressed, and the flood studies coming from the city, and I think probably Mr. Wright has already said nothing can happen out there until this study comes in and that has looked at and construction plans are looked at that abide by that new study. And so this rezoning is not increasing the problems. I think it's actually decreasing the problems because nowhere near the amount of runoff can be allowed with residential zoning that's being asked for as the current zoning is. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harney. Who else would like to speak? Anybody? Okay. We will close the public hearing on this one. And I think we have several things to address on this. Can we start with the multiple different studies that have been done on the property, and were they all individual to specific developments, or are these just each time we're required to remap flood zones and things like that? I know they seem to change them quite often. Is anybody, Mr. Donovan, you got?
Yeah, I would defer that to Ms. Knopf and let her answer any floodplain related questions.
Where's Sam when we need him?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
What is triggering the flood study is the impacts to the floodplain at the intersection of Veterans and Highway 99 with the TDOT widening of 99 and Wawa wanting to come in at the intersection. So it's going to have an impact to the floodplain, and that required a flood study. And so we decided just to go ahead and do an overall restudy of the entire Puckett Creek watershed, starting at the confluence of Overall Creek and ending at Old Salem Road, where it's the most upstream end of the creek. So this portion of Old Salem Road is an unmapped stream, it's an unstudied stream. So our flood study is going to provide established base flood elevations in a floodway. So that will help us better regulate future development in this area.
Do you happen to know the other studies that are being referenced that have been going on all along? Whether those are city-related studies or were those individual developments? Mr. Taylor, you maybe got some.
Matt Taylor of SEC. I think there's probably been a few different studies out here. SEC had conducted a study specifically for Redeemer, where we went in and established a floodway and a base flood elevation specific to us designing that property, so that we had constraints, so we were not going to impact other properties. We were protecting our school and our development as well. And so it had multiple folds. I think some of the studies that people are referencing here have to do with the city's project to replace I think there are 3, maybe 36 CMPs pipes underneath Old Salem. And so the city has undertaken a study there to replace it with a large box culvert. I'm told that is funded and going to be constructed either this fall or winter. I don't have an exact date on that. So I think that there is definitely an imminent plan that would be underway before this project ever got construction plan approval, because the flood study is going to hold any sort of construction plan approval here. Certainly building permits will not be issued on this project until that happens either. So I think those are probably all the studies that are being referenced there.
And so I think it was Mr. Parker that's been dealing with this for 3 or 4 years or more now.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's what the original study would have been, still talking about this, that you think now is probably about to.
Yes, ma'am. So what I will say is we did not, SEC wasn't a part of the subdivisions of Belmar, Section 1 or Section 2. I was probably in those meetings, and we've been certainly aware of the pipes under Old Salem being, one, in poor condition that the city inherited when they annexed that road, as well as being undersized. We've had a couple of projects upstream of those, and we've helped size some culverts upstream of those, and they were significantly larger than 336 inches. So we were aware of that. I think that's the same thing Mr. Huddleston was probably saying, is we're aware that we've got undersized and poor maintenance here, but that's not uncommon when the city's annexing county roads either. So sometimes the wheels move a little slower than I think they're intended to, but I think that's been underway for quite a while.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Wright, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yes, I talked to Sam Huddleston. I was tagged in several Facebook posts last Wednesday about this very flooding issue, so I was on the phone with Sam Huddleston a few times that day. And I'm sure this sounds like more promises from the city, but it is my understanding it's fully funded and will take place this fall to replace all those culverts underneath Old Salem. And then when the widening happens on 99, the state would do the 99 culverts when the state widening happens. There has been an offer from a builder that's built out in that direction that he would actually take care of the culverts as well. But the city plans to do it, not that builder. I would be fine saying no building permits to the culverts fixed, but I think this flood certification issue is going to be much longer than the actual culverts getting fixed. However, if I'm sitting in that crowd and I've been told for 3 or 4 years that these repairs are going to be made, I would be wanting the repairs made first before any building permit, no matter what the FLIRT certification said. So I totally understand where they're coming from. So I'd be okay with even making that part of the conditional approval, was making the culverts have to be fixed before we issue any permits, on top of waiting for the flood certification.
Okay, what else? Mr. Halliburton?
Yeah, so I don't think the rezoning is going to negatively impact the water piece, and hopefully, through this process, hopefully it will help. But here's my, and I don't disagree with what Mr. Wright just said, but I also heard something that does bother me, in the fact that the first gentleman that spoke, that this development that's behind his house, that has nothing to do with this rezoning request, has caused more water to come into his property. And so we, as a planning commission, sit here and say time after time after time that the whole idea with what you just, Mr. Donovan, you were talking about earlier, that we're not going to cause, that any new development is not going to cause any more water to come onto someone's property that wasn't already coming on there. Now, whether it is or it isn't, a new development shouldn't have caused more water to come on to the neighbor's property. That's a concern of mine. There's nobody here from the engineering department that I can see that can address this, but somebody needs to look into the fact that if this new development is causing more water to impact the old development, then we need to look to that developer to do something about it.
I agree.
I agree completely.
So who's going to take I can sit here and talk all night. Who is going to take responsibility for that? Is that the planning director's job? Somebody needs to help us here.
And Mr. Parker, you can't get back up and speak. Sorry. Thank you, though.
Thank you for bringing that up. We'll definitely look into it. You know, it might not be our department specifically that'll look into that, but we can ask engineering to look into that to see if that's something that's happening.
Okay. These folks have been told and promised for a number of years that piece of the puzzle bothers me as much as anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's not kick the can down the road.
Right.
Let's fix it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the part I don't know how since it's almost like we need that well, no, the city has to require that developer to take care of whatever,
Mm-hmm.
They've obviously not done something that's supposed to be done in either the drainage, I don't know, all that, pipes, et cetera, culverts, all those things. We need to have that taken care of.
I've got another question, not about drainage, but the RS-12 compared to the bigger lot RS-15 stuff across the street. If I was looking at this screen earlier, several of these lots are 50,000 square foot, 60,000 square foot, and then you've got a few that are 12,000, 13,000 foot. Could we not move some lines and make sure that the smallest lot's 15,000 square foot to be more? These are large, for the most part, these are very large lots. So why do the reduce in zoning?
Yeah, I don't even see anything near. They're big lots.
Yeah, I think I can address that. The RS-12 really has to do with the side setback. It gets you a couple of more extra feet there, so you can make the house wider and still keep a side entry garage. That's what that has to do with, is purely the side setback. You can see the layout. The lots are, like you said, well over 12,000 square feet, well over 15,000 square feet, every one of them. And so it has to do with the side setback, just trying to get a little bit more elbow room in the lots themselves.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I will say, you've probably heard us say a lot of times, the price of the land is going to dictate the price of the lot and so forth. Going from commercial to residential is very hard to make those numbers work. And so these lots are going to be very expensive. So we expect these homes to be at or above what is currently built inside of Belmore, even though the zoning may be slightly different. But you can go through multiple subdivisions we have in the city that have different types of zoning, and you can't tell the houses apart at some time in some portions.
So one more question. This is probably a question for Mr. Alcorn. This is straight zoning, so there's no PUD or anything like that controlling an HOA or anything like that. Are these houses going to, I mean, this is down the road. I mean, we're talking about a zoning right now. Is there going to be an HOA controlling these lots?
I could say there will be an HOA because I think this will be required to have a kiosk. It'll be required to have detention stormwater ponds. And so they're going to have an HOA to manage those common facilities.
Thank you.
And Mr. Taylor, also one more question. Will this, when the flood study or that you're working on is completed, that's going to determine, like, is it even potential that some of these building envelopes will be way up at the road, or is it pretty far back?
No, I think that, as Ms. Knopf said, they're going to establish a floodway, and so that floodway we know is going to cut out some of the rear setback. We don't know exactly how much yet, but we know that's going to encroach on the rear of these properties. I think if you see how Belmore has been developed, which is really that they have padded up multiple feet around the building, the house itself, and then they've sloped back down into the backyard. And so I would also say that is some of the reason why some of the flooding picture that you see is so large, because it's a very flat area. And that water is not deep. It spreads out extreme. And when I say not me, I'm not trying to demean anything they said. I just mean it's not 10 feet deep. It is, you can go hundreds of feet and still stay within a foot of elevation change out there. And so it's an extremely flat part of our county. And so that's why minimum pad elevations were set on those plats, was to protect structures that were getting built out there. And so there is a little difference between your yard and your structure, and that's why the minimum pads were done that way. I think that it appears to me that the city and their engineer protected the main channelway by putting it in common area and drainage easement, and then it was only the house and some portion of their backyard that got padded up above those elevations.
Thank you. What other questions? Mr. Taylor, Mr. Alcorn, anybody?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
No, sorry. Public hearing's over.
When I was standing up there, you said that you would be...
Let me see. Melissa Thompson, not RS-12, we did that. New flood certs would protect the new 21 lots, not the existing lots. That's true. But that, I think got answered pretty much.
Can I ask questions too? I would like to know the constituent's name for the flood study, please.
Mr. Taylor, are you doing the flood study?
I'm not, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Ms. Knopf, thank you.
Volker is our consultant.
Volker, thank you.
Volker, V-O-L-K-E-R.
Okay. You know, I guess we're going to ask for a motion and wherever that goes, but then outside of that, I think just in general as a planning commission, we would like to ask to have this general flood study and the development that's already underway, if we can make sure that Mr. Newman and the planning department, if you'll follow through with figuring out what we need to do in regards to the developer that is doing something that is worsening someone else's potential flooding that they're having right now. Normally, if anything, it improves flooding. It doesn't normally worsen what they have. So it's nothing to do with this particular application that we're looking at right now, but still something I think as a planning commission we would like to have, make sure we follow through on that.
We'll follow through with that and report back.
Thank you. Okay, what other comments or questions regarding?
So Sean, not to put you on, but you said this culvert or this box was supposed to be finished
This fall.
Okay. Has it been bid? Okay.
Now, I don't want to give these people more empty promises.
Right,
But
right.
as a city council person, I was told it would be scheduled for this fall.
Okay.
If I can speak to that, I think that maybe this winter, we have a group that's working on Medical Center. Once that, they have to stay out there, they're going to be pulled off to focus on this culvert construction.
So this winter, not fall, but.
That's right.
We can tell these people, I want to make sure that whatever we tell these people is true and accurate and they can take it to the bank instead of another year, 2, 3 years down the road hearing stories and kicking the can down the road. So I want to make sure we give them a check that they can cash.
Yes, it's my understanding from talking with our engineer that this winter, that this will be constructed. And it has, as I think it's been stated, that these things take a long time to study, make sure that what we're putting in place will help resolve some of the issues that are out there. And so the study took a long time to complete. The design of the structure took a while to complete, and then the funding took a while to get there. And we are a city, and we move at the speed of a city. That, and I know that happens on a lot of projects.
But the funding has been.
Funding's been approved.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there updates for that available on the city government website, like Murfreesboro? The project
Did the
update?
funding projects get noted out there for,
You can
probably part of city council minutes or something?
Yeah, you can probably find it in some minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Where's the box culvert going at that we're talking about?
Under Old Salem, under Old Salem Road.
Where Constantine and Old Salem come together? That V ditch right there?
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Donovan's showing us right there.
It's in approximately this, right there at near the intersection.
Right.
Okay.
And then it bottlenecks again when it gets over to New Salem.
Okay.
Only because I believe that the zoning and annexation are going to make the business and the developers interest mutual with the homeowners there, and that there's a lot of activity in the area, and keep that going. I think I'll make a motion to approve based on with all staff comments.
And some of the things,
Are we
I
adding?
think we added a few things tonight. Obviously, the study has to be complete. I mean, and none of that can happen anyway without it. I'm not even sure it really has to be a part of it. It's not like they can get permits or anything without it.
Yeah, and then separately, we're going to follow up on box culvert project and the developer currently working in there.
We can't base our approval on the culvert being replaced. We can't do that.
No.
Just a separate issue.
Yeah.
Separate issue. But it is my understanding, if we were to approve this zoning application for this RS-12 request, you still can't get building permits or move through those steps without this flood study being complete.
Yeah, for me, I'm just kind of, just looking at the people and looking at the pictures. I just think that, not approving this on the table, and I don't want them to think if we approve it that we're not going to do what we say we're going to do. I think taking it from commercial to RS-12 puts, this situation in a better situation, me personally, because, we won't give any building permits or let anything else go along, but take it out of this commercial situation, I think helps them. But, I'd really like to see, I know the city inherited this when they annexed it from the county, and I hate it for the city, but, it's not fair to them who bought property and built and dealing with a major flood issue. So I just want them to know that, we empathize and we want to get this taken care of.
I agree.
And I think a developer with a project that he wants to move forward is going to also be interested in solving the flooding issues.
Because he can't build anything if he doesn't. Okay.
Chair Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jones.
So unless Mr. Hankins has a objection, we feel it would be appropriate for the Planning Commission to place the condition that no building permits be issued prior to the completion of the flood study, and that no building permits be issued until the culvert work is complete as well, unless Mr. Hankins sees a reason they couldn't place those conditions on.
I don't see any reason right off the top of my head why those conditions couldn't be placed on there.
Okay, well, I'll add those two conditions to my motion then.
There you go.
That's perfect. Good job, Brian.
Hold on.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms.
Can we be clear on the motion? I'd just like to be clear on the motion.
Motion to approve the zoning application, as well as making sure there's no building permits issued until the flood study is complete and the culvert project is finished.
I will second that motion.
Now we have 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh. We have a motion and a second, Ms. Jacob.
Ms. Savelwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, Mr. Wright, go ahead.
Any of you neighbors, if you would like to communicate with me through this process, I will stay on the engineering department about this culvert project because I want to make sure you guys are taken care of, and I'll also make sure we look into this other issue of water coming on you from another development in an opposite direction of the water. So please communicate with me if you have any issues.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. We appreciate that, and we appreciate y'all coming out tonight and expressing all your concerns. Thank you very much. All right, our next item is a zoning application for approximately 21.14 acres located along New Salem Highway and Salem Creek Drive to be rezoned from RS15 to CF, Commercial Fringe, 12.4 acres, and PRD, Salem Town PRD, 8.74 acres. Harney Homes is the applicant. Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Chair Jones. This is a request to rezone property from RS15 to Commercial Fringe for the northern 12.4 acres on the map in front of you. That's highlighted in yellow. And then PRD for Salem Town PRD on the southern 8.74 acres. That is in blue on the map in front of you. So this property is located at 2511 New Salem Highway, or the southwest corner of New Salem Highway and Salem Creek Drive intersection. The site is currently home to Fellowship United Methodist Church, which is allowed in the RS15 district by special use permit. The last special use permit for this site was approved in 2007, and that was issued for an expansion of the building and for additional parking. So adjacent land uses to this property are commercial and residential uses, and commercial, residential, and PUD zoning. So the property to the north is currently zone CH, and then the property at the northernmost part of the map on the eastern side of the property is PCD. That is the Salem Creek Commons PCD, which generally allows the same zoning uses as CF, with the exception of liquor stores and beer package stores. Just to the south of that is Salem Creek Church of Christ, which is zone CF, and further south is another PRD that is Salem Creek Townhomes, which is a townhome development, so single-family attached, like in the request before you tonight. Then just due south of that, in the OG portion of the zoning, is GMP Realty Office, as well as some vacant land. And then further to the south and along the southern part of the property is RS12 zoning in the Salem Creek single-family residential subdivision. And then on the west side of the property is Boxwood Plantation PUD, which has a mixture of uses allowed in it residentially and commercial uses that generally align with our CF zoning district. As far as the future land use map on this property, it is zoned or has a designation of public-private institutional. When the city was going through its process of formulating the future land use plan, we looked at the existing use to make an informed decision, and at that time, no changes were contemplated for the site. So at the time that designation was assigned to this land, we didn't foresee the property developing. However, since that time, there's been, this application and situation has changed in this side of town. So the proposed CF and Salem Town zoning are inconsistent with the future land use map, but this is another situation where staff feels that the transition policy will work well at this site because it will provide a transition from commercial uses along the frontage of New Salem Highway to residential uses on the southern end of the property, and then on to single family, which is just to the south of the subject property. And that transition is consistent with what's happening on the east side of Salem Creek Drive as well. Okay. So the Salem Town PRD includes 47 single-family attached residential dwelling units in 8 buildings. I'm going to pull up the overall map for everyone to see. So we have eight buildings that have single-family attached dwellings in it. That's a 5.38 dwelling unit per acre density. And the individual drives will be accessed via a private street off of Salem Creek Drive, and then a secondary access off of the loop drive around the property for the church. The private road is going to have both sidewalks and street lights along both sides of it. Solid waste will be provided by a private hauler onto the site, and the units will be sold via a horizontal property regime. The homeowners association will be established, and all common areas and amenities will be in that area, as well as the driveways for the property. As far as the individual details in the PRD, so all units are going to be 1 to 2 stories with 2 to 3 bedrooms. There are going to be 16 3-bedroom units. Those are going to be the end units of the building. Those same units will also have a 2-car garage on those end units. Then the internal units will be the 2-bedroom and have a single-car garage associated with those. The units are going to have a minimum of 1,350 square feet. That's excluding the garage. The garage is also going to have a decorative carriage-style door on it, as required by the PRD. The rear of the units are going to have a privacy fence to create a little bit of privacy area around the back patio, and the HVAC will be back there as well to be screened from public view. The building materials on the front are going to be brick or stone or cement siding. We also had the developer add in 50% brick or stone, so we know a quantity of how much brick or stone we're going to see on the front of those. And then on the sides, first story is brick and stone, with the second story being cement siding, and that's subject to that same 50% requirement on those sides as well. The rear It will be all cement fiber. The only vinyl to be used on the side is going to be in trim work and in the soffits where you would typically see it. As far as setbacks, this is where you're going to see the lone exception for this PRD, and that is to reduce the 35-foot front setback to a 25-foot front setback. And then all of the other setbacks to the northern boundary are 20 feet, western boundary is 20 feet, and the southern boundary is 50 feet, so those exceed the typical bulk standards for the RS-A2 district. Internal to the site, you're going to see from back of sidewalk to the garage at 25 feet, back of sidewalk to the home at 15 feet, and then 30-foot separation between each of the buildings on the site. And then porches, patios, stoops are going to be allowed to be permitted at least 5 foot into the front setback. As far as parking goes, there are 122 required spaces on there. Depending on which configuration you count, which typically garage spaces aren't counted unless they meet a certain dimension, but just in driveway spaces and guest parking, they exceed the requirement. They're going to actually have 223 parking spaces on the site. The open space and amenity areas is going to include the stormwater management, which is noted as detention on your the plan in front of you. And then you're going to have amenities that are formal open space with a pickleball court in the pavilion, kind of centrally located along the main entrance into the property, and then along Salem Creek Drive, and a portion of what will be the northern edge of the townhome development. A type B buffer will be required to provide some screen into the church that's going to remain in place, and as well as to create a little bit of a buffer to that reduced setback of 25 feet on that frontage. So as I mentioned, this PRD only has one exception to it, and that's to reduce that 35-foot setback along Salem Creek to 25 feet. The other portion of this rezoning request is to commercial fringe, and that is for the front portion where the existing church is. That's approximately 12.4 acres, and it would permit the church by right, eliminate the need for any future special use permit. So there wouldn't be any need for them to be back before the Board of Zoning Appeals to do if they decided to do any improvements. The CF district also permits a variety of retail office uses, as well as medical and most institutional uses, and some other limited housing types. Drive-through windows and fuel cells will have to be at least 250 feet from any residential properties in that CF. So you're going to see a bit of space in between them and any residential in the area. And then additionally, the CF zoning could facilitate a future subdivision on the front of the property. We've seen some initial concepts that where there's a potential for the church to remain in place and a couple of commercial lots out front with shared access to New Salem Highway. In your staff report or your agenda packet, there was a copy of Chart 1 that gets into the specific uses allowed in the CF district. Staff is supportive of the rezoning request for the following reasons. The rezoning request is an appropriate use of the transition policy, using Spence Creek and its floodway as a natural transition between the land uses. The proposed CF zoning provides additional opportunities for commercial services in one of the faster growing areas of our city, and the proposed single-family attached dwellings would be compatible with land uses of single-family attached residential to the east. The Planning Commission will need to conduct a public hearing and formulate a recommendation for City Council.
Okay. Any questions before we open this public hearing? Okay. Mr. Taylor, you'd like to?
I was going to say I had a brief presentation. I think Mr. Donovan hit most of the high points, but I'll show you a few pretty pictures and maybe elaborate on a few things. So as Mr. Donovan said, it's about a 21-acre site. It does currently house Fellowship United Methodist. They will continue to operate on the site and retain about 12, almost 12 and a half acres. And then the Salem Town portion will be the southern 8.74 acres. Just a picture of that zoning map. A couple of good pictures, I think. This is looking basically down, standing on Spence Creek or very close to it, looking back toward the church. You can see the church in the distance there, so it's a good distance. There's a lot of separation between the proposed development and the Salem Creek homes to the south. This is standing closer to the church and looking back toward those homes. As you can see, there's a very good vegetative buffer there along the stream, which will stay in place with this project. So you can't see any of those homes back there, and likewise, they wouldn't be able to see our project. Just a picture of the church. These are some of the townhomes that are on the east side of Salem Creek Drive as you come in, and examples of some of the homes inside of Salem Creek proper to the south. And then this is just the layout. So we've got one access point onto Salem Creek Drive, and then we've got a secondary access that'll tie back into the church's internal drive network there. All of our utilities will be underground. We'll have a mandatory HOA that'll be managed by a third-party association. All of our streets here will be private in nature as well. Our streets as well will have the curb and gutter, just like a city typical street section in a normal subdivision. And then our garages will be set back 35 feet from the back of that sidewalk, so you can have 2 cars parked back to back there. And then we'll have sidewalks along both sides of all of our streets. We've got visitor parking spread around. Even though it's a small neighborhood, we've got about 4 different spots for visitor parking throughout the project. And as Mr. Donovan said, he outlined all the materials and the size of the homes. The shape and form of these are similar to what Harney Homes has proposed in a couple of other spots in our community, but we've changed the colors of the cement board as well as the brick, so that all of these kind of age difference. You can't necessarily tell that they are the exact same unless you're really paying attention very closely. So you'll see a lot of roof line variation, a lot of detail on that front building elevation, a lot of building plane changes. So I think it's a very attractive elevation. And then the rear, as Mr. Donovan said, would be, you'd still see those building plane elevation changes. These will have fences on the back to provide that privacy, but we want to show the architecture here, not necessarily the fences. And then amenities, again, one of the largest amenities is going to be the large open space along Spence Creek and that separation. We'll also have entry signage as we come off Salem Creek Drive. And then our pickleball and pavilion that Mr. Donovan said will be located toward the central part of the project here. And these are some example pictures of what those will look like. And then access, as we mentioned earlier, all private streets, and then our access off of Salem Creek Drive is shown here in yellow, and then that internal secondary entrance will be here in red. And then we'll have landscaping around the perimeter of the site as well as internal. The blue here will have a type B buffer to help kind of that view shed as you come down Salem Creek Drive from the rear of those units, and then along the side of those units that are a little closer to Salem Creek Drive. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Any questions before we open the public hearing? Okay. All right, then we will open the public hearing for this zoning application and ask if there's anybody that would like to come forward to speak.
My name is Kenneth Robbins, spelled K-E-N-I-T-H. Robbins is with one B, R-O-B-I-N-S. My residence, our residence is 445 East Bell Street. The questions, a couple of questions that I have, and I want to first apologize to the chair, Ms. Jones, that I clapped. I've never been in a procedure like this, so it's kind of like, you know, do you clap in church? No. There was a little levity when I walked in, so, you know, anyway, my point is that I respect that we're doing planning.
I've never been apologized to before, so thank you.
Note that in the record, right? And in that home that we live in at 445 East Bell Street, it's been in the family 60 years. The concern I have, or I want to address or ask the questions, first of all, I did receive in the mail notification of this meeting a week ago at our residence and also at our property, which is 2611 Salem Creek Drive. So we're looking straight at where this property or this rezoning is. So for the first time, I at least understand where those dwellings are going to be. It's going on the far south. Our property is between the other townhouses, I don't know what you call those, are on our right. On our left is we have a creek that goes down, or ditch, and then it goes into a holding space or pond. And we also have flood insurance. So this property that we own, we're clinical psychologists. I think it's zoned with medical. And so we do, in terms of community mind health, work with kids in terms of school psychology and clinical psychology, veterans and others. And one of the things they like about this, and the reason we chose this property, was because it looks residential. And it doesn't look like when you walk in, you know, the lights that are bright in a hospital, everything you can put up or down, and we've made some really nice spaces around the area. So I wanted to understand is what is CF in terms of what could be in front of us in terms of impact of what kinds of things that would be. Like, I don't understand.
So commercial fringe, and we'll answer all these at the end of the public
Thank
hearing.
you.
But we do have that little, a chart, and we reference some of those items, but there's a specific chart in the code, and it lists all of them. And we'll kind of try to reference some of those for you so you understand that difference. Thank you, Ms. Jaco.
And I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Who else would like to speak? Anybody else? Okay. We will close the public hearing and ask if we have any further questions or concerns or comments regarding this application.
If there are none, I'll move for approval, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Jaco?
Ms. Abelwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye. Okay. Our last public hearing tonight is on a zoning ordinance amendment regarding the, we did answer his question. Ms. Jaco, you gave him a copy of that chart.
From the staff comments.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I was about to forget that. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item is a zoning ordinance amendment regarding the use airport, heliport, and pertaining to the following sections. Chart 1, uses permitted by zoning district, and Chart 1, endnotes, uses permitted by zoning district. The City of Murfreesboro Planning Department is the applicant, and Mr. Tully is going to present for that one tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Jones and Commissioners. I will endeavor to keep this short. This is a proposal to amend the zoning ordinance to add a end note regarding the airport heliport use. Specifically, what is being done here is the airport currently is allowed in, well, any airport is allowed in any of the zoning districts other than the central business district after a special use permit has been issued. The purpose of this amendment will be to allow the Murfreesboro Airport, if it's making improvements within the airport design overlay, to forego that special use permit process. There will still, of course, be city oversight through, well, number one, approval from the Planning Commission to do the improvement in the first place, FAA approval for any improvements to the airport, and then site plan review from the Planning Department, as well as any substantial changes to the airport will require an amendment to the airport master plan, as well as the airport layout plan by the City Council. And so all that this is doing is basically removing the need for the special use permit process for improvements from the airport. With that, I'll be available for any questions, but that's the summary.
I really appreciate that explanation.
You are welcome, sir.
Any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? Okay. We will open the public hearing regarding this zoning ordinance amendment and ask if there's anybody that would like to come forward to speak. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing on this item. Comments, questions, or motions?
If there are no questions, I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jacko?
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Chair Jones?
Aye. All right. That one passes. That ends our public hearings for the evening, and we do have at least one that we know of, staff reports and other business. It is a mandatory referral to consider the abandonment of a portion of a drainage easement located on property east of Fortress Boulevard. SEC Inc., on behalf of Lennar Homes of Tennessee, LLC, is the applicant. Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Chair Jones. So the last item that I have for you tonight is a mandatory referral requesting the abandonment of an easement, or two easements on the site for what is the villas at the Stones Retreat. So the request that's before you tonight involves two easements. The first one is on track 2 on the screen before you. It runs along the eastern margin of the property, then the northern property line, and then along the eastern property line again before it terminates to the south. This was originally approved on a plat that was from 2007 for parcel A of Victory Station, or I'm sorry, 2005, which was parcel H of Victory Station, and again on a plat in 2007 for lot 1 of parcel A of Victory Station. This portion of the site has actually had a site plan approval and a preliminary plat for phase 1 of the villas at Stones Retreat, and has plans to be developed as 72 single-family attached dwelling units. The easement that runs along the east side of what is called out as Tract 5 on the exhibit in front of you is included in phase 2 of the villas at Stones Retreat, where there's an additional 110 single-family attached dwelling units that have yet to be approved. This drainage easement was recorded as part of that property back in 1976 on the revisions for the lots 14, 15, and 17 of Paschal Estates. So per the attached correspondence, the applicant stated the easement isn't necessary for the villas at Stones Retreat design. It's actually going to be the existing easement for track 2 will actually be rerouted to 2 detention ponds that are further east on the site. As part of the stormwater infrastructure design for phase 1, and then tract 5 actually doesn't contain any stormwater infrastructure. Staff has had the discussion with the city engineer and the project engineer that have also reviewed the request and concur that the abandonment is acceptable. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of this request to the City Council, subject to the following conditions. If City Council approves, if approved by City Council, the applicant will be responsible for providing the information necessary, including but not limited to any exhibits and legal descriptions for the legal department to prepare legal instruments to formally abandon the easements in question. The recording of the quitclaim deed, abandon the easement on track 2 shall be done simultaneously with the recording of the final plat that relocates the easement. 3, the legal instruments will be subject to the final review and approval of the legal department. And 4, the applicant will also be responsible for recording the instruments, including any payment of recording fees.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Any questions regarding this mandatory referral? And if not, we're just ready for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Saberwater, is that approval subject to staff comments?
Always is, Mr. Blomley, thank you. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. Subject to all staff comments, Mr. Hankins.
Thank you, Ms. Saberwater.
Did you say Mr. Hankins or Mr. Bromley after that?
We have a motion and a second, Ms. Jacob.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Yeah, aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Okay, do we have any other staff reports or any other business tonight?
We do not, Chair Jones.
Okay. If not, then we do stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.